Hey everyone, I'm Adam Kelly. Welcome back to another entry in my collaborative ML Agents devlog series. I'm excited to say that I have worked through the major issues that I was having in the last entry, and so I'm going to show you what I did and how I got through those issues. All right, here is the updated project. You'll notice a few things look cosmetically different, so I'll just point those out right away. I managed to get it working pretty well with just the door, the two buttons and the door. So I decided to make the problems a little bit difficult by just adding some obstacles and starting the agents from further back. The challenge is still essentially the same. Get to the button. Agent 1 needs to stand on the button, which opens a door. Then Agent 2 can go through. Agent 2 needs to stand on this button and hold it so that Agent 1 can get through the door before it closes, and then they both need to stand on the platform at the same time. So that's the challenge. The other thing is I've created a little character, and I'm quite proud of it. I'm still not an expert or professional artist, but I'm getting better with Blender, and so I made this cute little pear character, and I also animated it. So there's animations built into this, and basically it can walk and it can turn, it can go backward. So I'm sure this could be animated better, but I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. And so the other thing with having this character is it kind of explains why I was trying to get the capsule working in the last video. So the capsule, let me just show this really quick, sort of surrounds this agent like this. And this is very common for video game characters. You have a capsule, it works better for various different things. Having a cube collider means that things can, get stuck on its head, won't just fall off. It means that it might get caught on steps, things like that. So capsule makes a lot of sense. The other thing that is different is rather than using forces to move the agent around on a very slippery surface, which is how it was working previously, basically it was like, imagine putting a box on ice and then applying rocket boosters in any given direction. That's how it was working previously, and that's how some of the ML Agents examples work. I wanted it to be more close to how a game would work, and so I have this controller, this animation controller, which has these these movements are motion baked into the animation. And so if the animation moves forward, then you can use this thing called root motion, which is right here on the animator. It means that it's going to move the character forward as the animation moves forward, or rotate as the animation rotates. And so with this setup, basically it's using the animation for its movement instead of forces. So that's significantly different. And it had the result being I'm using the capsule still, and additionally, I needed to change something because the agent was moving much slower than before. And I kind of mentioned that in the last video, but I didn't go into it. Basically, I'm gonna let this play and you can see how these agents solve the puzzle now. Because the agents are moving slower, I think it was harder for them to randomly hit the button. And what you saw in the previous video was that they would kind of like almost scrub back and forth over top of this until one of them got through, and then the other one would have to scrub over it until the other one got through. Now you can see they look much more intentional as they sort of wait on the button for their friend to get through, and then they work their way to the end. So they're still not perfect, but they are getting through reliably. Even when they start this far back and they have to navigate around obstacles to get to here. And these obstacles right now, they're placeholders. I'm going to make this sort of a supermarket escape scenario where these two pairs are trying to escape a supermarket. And because they're so small, the motion detector doesn't see them if they're right in front of the door. So they have to stand on, on the button or whatever, the motion area for them to get through. So that's kind of the story that I'm building around it. And that's kind of how I'm approaching this. I really didn't have a good plan for what I was going to do with this challenge, but I'm sort of making a story up after. So clearly I got this working. Let's talk about what I did to work around these problems. The capsule, which was driving me crazy last video. I really don't think it has much to do with the shape of the capsule. That is my decision on this. I think it has much more to do with the rewards that I had set up and the training in general. I think it had to do with it was just barely good enough to get them to train properly. The setup, the speed of the agent, the rewards I was giving it weren't quite good enough. And so just the subtlest difference, using a capsule, for example, made it not train. And I don't know why the capsule was different enough to do that, but it did seem to be making a difference. And so I'm happy to say that by making a more robust, stronger reward thing, that seems to make a big difference. So let's talk about rewards really quick, and I'll explain my philosophy behind this. Basically, if you're a researcher and you're trying to make a neural network that solves any reinforcement learning problem, kind of like the researchers working on Atari game solving, you kind of want to make something that's just general. And no matter what problem you throw at it, you give it a problem and you give it a reward for completing the complete task. And then that's good. And you don't care if it takes a long time to train, because you're not interested in giving it help along the way. The goal is to make it work no matter what. Well, in this case, I think my goal is not to do that. My goal is to get this to solve the puzzle at all. And so I've decided that giving it extra help along the way is good. And that even though I'm sort of rewarding them for touching buttons and for getting through the door and standing on the platform, yes, they are getting extra help and not purely being rewarded for collaboration. This is still a forced collaborative task. They cannot solve this puzzle without each other. So it is still truly a collaborative task. So the rewards they get are basically, if you stand on this button and the other agent is still on this side, you get a reward. If you stand on this button and the agent is on this side, you get a reward. And if you stand on this by yourself, you get a small reward. But if you stand on it together, you get a massive reward and it ends. So that's kind of how it goes. It doesn't give them a reward for standing on this button anymore once the agent is through. So they're no longer encouraged to wait there. But if the agent's still on this side, one of them needs to figure out that it has to come back and stand on this until the other one gets through. So it definitely looks more intentional. You can tell that they sort of realize that their friend isn't with them, and then they go back. And it's not always the same one that goes through first, which is kind of interesting. So that's part of the rewards. I also rewarded them for just moving forward. I thought that that would help, and it really seems to. So they get a very small, subtle reward for just deciding to press the forward button, so to speak. So that forces them, I wouldn't say forces them, encourages them to move and explore the environment. And that seemed to help. And it also makes it so that they don't try and solve the puzzle by walking backwards, which would look kind of unnatural. So there's that component of it. I have some notes here, so let me look really quick. So they get these rewards, and I'll just show really quickly how the rewards look. The rewards are usually just divided by the max step. I'm trying to figure out where I'm giving these rewards. So basically there's some number of steps. It's like 5,000 in this case. And then I give a tiny negative reward every single time step. So that's just the default. If they stand still and accomplish nothing else, then they'll get a -1 reward, because -1 added together or divided by max step added together that many max step times, you get a total sum of -1. And the same thing for moving forward. Basically, if it's not on the buttons, not on the target, and it's moving forward, then we're going to give it a small positive reward. So that's kind of what the agent gets by default. And then there's this challenge script that I have. And I'm not going to go through all of this because it's kind of messy, and I'll come back to this, and I want to share more about this project later, but not this video. And it determines things like whether they're on the button, whether it's on one side or the other, and then it applies these small rewards like this, all divided by the max step, aside from the final one, which gives a massive big reward at the end for both being on the platform. So that's how my rewards look. The observations are still the same. It's basically just where am I in the challenge area? Where are the different things? Like where are the buttons? Are they pressed or not? I did add this little thing that maybe is helping or maybe not. I haven't had a chance to test it with and without to see if it makes a big difference. But agent ID. So they have some awareness of which agent they are. So one of them is assigned agent 0. The other one is assigned agent 1. And so that's something that maybe they're using to determine who should do which task. But I need to do more experimentation with that. And then also, I had random spawning turned on. So let me just turn this off really quick and show you. I have this training mode thing that I did. And basically what it does is it randomly spawns each agent either here, here, or here. So it could be any combination of those between the two agents. So sometimes they spawn right by the door. Sometimes they spawn on the other side of the wall. And sometimes they spawn back here. And sometimes one will spawn here and sometimes one will spawn here. So that gives them the whole range of possibilities and allows them to train in each of the different challenge areas from the beginning. And I think I weighted it so that they were more likely to spawn over here and even more likely to spawn right here, so that they didn't get too much practice just walking to the target, because that wouldn't be super helpful. This is probably the least challenging portion of the challenge. So that's one thing. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is, because these agents are moving slower than they were previously, when I was applying forces, they were moving really fast. Now they're moving slower. When I trained them with the decision requester set to the defaults, so decision requester is the thing that says how often it should ask the neural network to make a decision. It was set to 5. And what that means is every 5 time steps, make a decision and take actions every step, every time step. So it might decide, okay, I want to move forward, and then it would move forward for the next 5 time steps. Well, because it doesn't move very far, because it's moving slower now, I increased that decision period to 20. So now it makes a decision every 20 time steps and then takes actions in between. So that means it's going to get farther for every decision it takes, which I think is pretty critical for making this work, because it was really not training well until I did that. And just really briefly, that decision period, it happens in the fixed update. So in Unity, basically every physics update, there's something called the fixed time step. So it's not related to the frame rate. It's related to every simulation step update. And that you can find in your project settings, which is under Edit, Project Settings. Then you open this tab and you can go to Time. And so we see that it's 0.02 seconds. So what that means is, if you skip 5 steps for that decision frequency, it's actually 0.02 times 5 is how frequently. So 0.1 seconds is how often it makes a decision. Well, by doing it 20, now we're doing it 0.4, every 0.4 seconds, which, if you imagine how long you hold down like the forward button if you're controlling a character, probably half a second is about as slow as you're likely to do it. So I think that that's a reasonable amount of time. So I think that this is pretty much everything that I've changed. I don't want this video to go on too long, but I'm really excited about the progress that I've made. And I just wanted to share briefly sort of where I landed in terms of training. So this took about an hour to train in the best case. And in another case, it took 2.5 hours to train. And then in another case, I let it go for 4 hours and it had still not trained. So that's something worth mentioning, I would say, is that even after 10 million steps, this thing just had not trained, and that was pretty infuriating. Because these 4 runs here, I changed nothing. I ran it, it worked great. I ran it a second time, it worked. This orange one, it worked, but it took twice as long. And then I ran it a third time and it did not train. And then I ran it a fourth time and then it was similar to the first one. So why it's inconsistent, I assume it's just random. because there are random, random number generators that go into this training. But that's where we're at. If I used a random seed, I guess maybe that would fix that problem. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with this. I'm going to proceed and just make this look a little prettier for the next video, probably make it look like a supermarket, and then they'll be escaping it, and then make sort of a wrap up video of what the project ended up being. So thank you so much for following along with this series so far. I don't know if it'll be just one more video or what, but we'll move on to some new problem after that. I really appreciate all of your input in the comments, all of your suggestions and things. Even if it was something that I had already tried or whatever, it was super helpful to see. There is a little bit of a delay between when these get recorded and when they actually go live on YouTube, because we need time to edit them. And we need a little bit of buffer. Like over Christmas, it was really helpful not to have to create a new video every single week. I was able to relax a little bit. So just be aware of that even though your comments might reach me after I've already tried some new things, they're still super helpful. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.